quiet bitterness on a random weeknight, Andrew Luck reaches into his closet to find an Indianapolis Colts voodoo doll. He can't reach Jim Irsay's magic, but it won't stop cruel fate from stinging other players on the team. What about Carson Wentz? This is his chance to put his best foot forward as the starting quarterback. Did somebody say foot? How about a severe injury to put him out of action? But hold on, this is a 2-for-1 special. Quentin Nelson's out with the same damn injury. And the timetable reeks of government red tape. 5 to 12 weeks. I'd argue for a blacksmith firing, but then T.Y. Hilton goes out with a slew of his own injuries. And then Sam Tevi wrecks his ACL. I get that Wentz and Nelson may play in week 1, but can this team ever catch a break? Maybe they haven't atoned enough for their sins. It's a shame since they could be really good if they stay healthy. The gods must still be angry at them. The AFC seems to be top-heavy again, but there's a ton of competition in the middle, and that's where the intrigue will come into play. The divisions seem relatively cut and dry. Buffalo wins the AFC East, Cleveland gets the AFC North, Tennessee claims the AFC South, and Kansas City locks up the AFC West. But for wildcards, there's an argument to be made for many teams. For the 3 I'm choosing, I'm going with Baltimore, Miami, and the Chargers. It was very tough to pick anyone who stands out in that regard. So I'm hoping for a really exciting AFC this season. I have a gut feeling another 10-win team isn't going to make the playoffs again. The long-standing fears of the preseason were for naught. Carson Wentz and Quentin Nelson will be starting in week 1. Can they find a way to clone Nelson at least 10 times? I have an inkling Indianapolis has some serious issues to work out. Seattle just stormed right into Lucas Oil Stadium and faced virtually no resistance whatsoever. This is the elite Colts defense, getting beaten on deep passes on the regular, gaping holes in the first and second levels. The Seahawks spanked the Colts on both sides of the ball performance-wise, morally, and tactically. If Russell Wilson keeps doing this, I'd say it'll be a good season for the 12s. Good building block at least. What do you get when you mix a home team desperate to win, an opponent known for having a strong interior defensive line, and prime goal line situations? Some of the most baffling play calling this side of the country. You're facing Aaron Donald, so you run 3 times up the gut at the 1. And then make Carson Wentz try to resurrect the drive to be sacked by Leonard Floyd. How about a second go-around where they run up the goddamn gut again, followed by what in the actual fuck is that play? I want answers. Or heads, preferably heads. I don't care that the Colts found a way to fix their mistakes and got back into the game. That play calling was fucking brain dead. Coaches get too cute and overthink their situations, resulting in poor outcomes. Remember those plays. They'll come into focus later. Back from my tangent, the game has become surprisingly competitive in the second half. Indianapolis was reminded that, yes, they do have talent on their roster. They capitalized on LA's what the actual fuck play of their own. They made big plays. They even had the lead. So why am I rambling? The Rams were held to a field goal and Indy has a chance to secure a remarkable victory. But remember who their quarterback is. Carson Wentz and injuries are as common as the wind. So now they have to trust their offense to a greenhorn. Enter Jacob Eason.
Eason on second down, and Jalen Ramsey.
You know, his dad seems like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I don't blame Eason at all, though. He was forced into this situation. How about not winning football's Darwin Awards in goal line situations? That'd be a start, wouldn't it? The Colts aren't just 0-2, they're a hilarious 0-2. My gut busted. Unlike on those goal line rushes. Did this game even happen? It felt like such a blur with everything else going on. There were little pops of action, but for the most part, Tennessee kept the foot on Indy's injured throat and never let go. The Colts offense did absolutely nothing. They were stuffed, slammed, smacked, stymied, and suffocated all game. Carson Wentz wasn't just carrying around 2 bum ankles, he was dragging a dead offense with him. Tennessee was far from pretty too. It wasn't like they looked like the '85 Bears or something. The Colts are just bad. Chance after chance squandered at every conceivable opportunity. Let's admit it, Indy. Your team has been lost since Andrew Luck retired and they haven't been able to recover from it. Now you see the drifting mess in front of you. If only Carson wasn't so injury-prone. When you make the Indianapolis Colts offense look competent, you have serious goddamn issues that need to be addressed. Miami, did you roll over and die like the Marlins did? At least no one gives a shit about them, but you? You're supposed to be fucking playoff contenders! You're pushing out wet farts like this? The offense didn't do jack and or shit until the 4th quarter. You know, when the game is all but over? I can receive a goddamn old European castle as compensation, but it doesn't matter if it's 3 years late. They made the Colts look like the playoff candidates they were supposed to be at the beginning of the year. With all of their injuries and stained glass Wentz? Fuck you. Get out of here until you find a real offense, you bastards. What the fuck is Baltimore's problem? Why is it that every time I think this team could gain some goddamn consistency, they shit the bed like there's no tomorrow? Great, you have Lamar, but what else have you got? Wide receivers made of Swiss cheese? A defense made of even more Swiss cheese? And a showing that best resembles sewage floating down the Chesapeake, the Ravens are struggling to gain any sort of traction against the Colts. This is a friendly reminder that Indianapolis is not only not any good this year, but they're injured to hell and back. A true contender would smack this piece of shit back in his place. You should be incredibly thankful that John Gruden's emails are taking the heat from you, Baltimore. This should be a hell of a lot uglier than it is. To add to Indy's trouble, the Colts have a limited kicker because his groin is stretched from all the wedgies that nerd's been taking. Shit defense, shit game planning, but you have Lamar to save you, right?
Jackson wants to keep it, and he'll be dragged down. The football comes out.
Do you see why I have doubts about the Ravens? Absolutely fucking embarrassing. The Colts are laying it on now. A 19-point deficit at home against a literal glue factory. How are you going to answer for this travesty? Oh, I see. Lamar took a telepathic shit. He's transcended the time-space continuum itself to achieve Zen, the golden toilet. Blessed with only the finest plumbing and accessories. And a bidet to keep the paper usage to a minimum. Years of training with ancient bowel masters have allowed him to master this art. And you know what happens when Lamar lets loose the dump of war? The defense becomes his outhouse. Remember what I said about the Colts, right? How they're injured to hell and back and truly suck in actuality? They're the perfect target for a precision bailout by high-end talent. Indy's offensive play calling is trying not to lose. And you can't do that in this kind of affair. But they're still in field goal range and it may be too late.
And it's blocked! Blocked by Calais Campbell!
The Ravens can play defense now? I forgot they have talent that's not lying in a crematorium over there. Cue the music, boys!
Here I come to save the day!
What the fuck are the Ravens? I swear, every fucking week with this team has been 11 billion cardiac arrest followed by rapid tachycardia. And now Baltimore has suddenly hit a manic euphoria.
Jackson with all sorts of time. Now throws. Caught! Andrews! Touchdown!
And cue the 2-point conversion.
For the tie. It's Andrews and he got it!
Game tied. Fuck's sake, is there anything else that you want to tell me that'll make this game even more fucked? Ah, yes, Jack Doyle flopping like he's in the NBA. Silly defense, you think you can actually retaliate for cheap shots against you? And I think that will end this false open this game.
For the win! Blankenship!
What the fuck is football anymore? Is Justin Tucker the only kicker that can reliably make fucking kicks in this league? Good for Lamar because he's somehow not done shitting on the Colts and their failure as an organization just yet. He has a little extra push before his final bow. Going down the field and preparing the Ravens fan base to orgasm at the same fucking time.
Second and goal, second in the game. There it is, caught! Touchdown! Marquise Brown!
Holy shit, I've just realized something. This Ravens team is the 2017 Pittsburgh Steelers. Being constantly bailed out by high-end talent, playing down to competition, everything looking completely unsustainable due to massive flaws on the roster. Hate me all you want, Baltimore, but I know how this ends. Get your shit together quickly. You should be lucky the Colts kneecapped their own chances like they were a franchise quarterback. You're not getting the same outcome against legit opponents. I was about to call this a tank bowl, but there are very stark differences between the Colts level of bad and the Texans' shit swamp. When he's able to breathe and not have his glass body shattered, Carson Wentz can still sling the football. To be fair, that's to be expected out of a QB who's playing the NFL equivalent of UConn. This game was absolute annihilation, and it might be confirmed in the Guinness Book of World Records for longest ass whooping in Indiana. Houston continues to slowly die, withering and writhing, begging for someone to put them out of their misery. As Indianapolis notices them on the street, they don't give them relief. They merely laugh at their pain and walk away. Indy knows that their life is a far worse punishment than death could ever bring. The NFL cares for nothing but the almighty dollar. Do you think they give a shit about the bomb cyclone that's pelting Santa Clara with rain? Of course not! The earth hasn't been blown to pieces yet. They need to make money. The Colts and 49ers are going out onto the field. It was an absolutely terrible football game to anyone who witnessed it, but they played. This match was both incredibly painful yet absolutely enjoyable to watch. Who knew that playing in heavy rain and wind would cause a metric ton of unforced errors from both sides? In prime time, we get to see such incredible feats of athleticism like Carson Wentz doing the same shit he did against the Rams earlier this year. Brendan Ayuk trying out for Manchester United by kicking a football into his own end zone for a touchback. And fumbles and drops galore. Somehow this game was finished despite everything thrown in its wake, therefore confirming the superiority of the NFL against all elements. No, it's not the Colts that won this game, it's the Shield itself. Football defies all gods in its quest for government greed. Indianapolis winning is merely a side effect of it. Now may we never speak of this shit show again. I didn't expect this game to be much of a duel a few weeks ago. Indianapolis looked like absolute shit at the start of the season and had lost in every conceivable manner. Tennessee rattled off impressive wins against far superior opponents. Maybe there is something that needs to be said about what confidence can do for a team. Okay, Carson Wentz was absolutely broken to start the year, but he has shown flashes of the brilliance that led Philly to christen him as the Messiah. The Colts punch first, but Tennessee gets back up. It's a relentless fight for more than a win. It's for AFC South bragging rights. Tank division? Here? Not with this kind of 12th round heavyweight bout. Blows and jabs thrown left and right by both teams throughout the contest. Neither one willing to concede ground on the 120-yard battlefield. They know the stakes of this game. The long-term implications are vast and limitless. We're deep into the match with both teams tied at 31 while Indy gets the ball. Carson will give us nostalgia.
Wentz faking the handoff, boy, under pressure!
The nostalgia of 2020. Carson Wentz transformed back into Carson Wentz. But then you see Tennessee's secondary is nothing but scotch tape and a half-drunken bottle of Cuddy Sark. Give me a Hail Mary pass and pass interference to get them shitloads of yardage to the one. Show me a tie, Jonathan Taylor.
Wildcat with Wentz splitting out, and
we've got a hot date with overtime. Round 13 in this fantastic bout. Neither team can do much of anything on their first two drives, but Carson needs to unleash his key perk. Hero Ball. The deadliest sin of Carson. Did Frank Reich forget about Jonathan Taylor? He wasn't allowed to do much of anything in overtime. Now they must suffer the anguish of Fat Randy and being second best in a division yet again. You may think you have no luck this season, Indy, but sometimes you've got to make your own. And you're doing a piss-poor job at it. This may be a foolish pipe dream, but we are entering a new age for the New York Jets. The long-awaited savior is here, and his name is Mike fucking White. This is what I would be saying if the Jets were allowed to have anything good in this world. They are too poor to afford such luxuries. Mike White was taken out of the game early because the football gods are dicks who hate anything fun. This includes anything resembling competitive sport. The Indianapolis Colts are really good at dominating against terrible competition and having people pretend that they're contenders. They did that just by letting Jonathan Taylor out to stud in the field. Endless running and siring of the Jets defense all night long. Correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Robert Saleh's area of expertise supposed to be defense? Why is his unit giving up 45 points and over 500 yards to teams? I don't care that Josh Johnson scored a bunch of points in garbage time and a Chiefs scoregami. I wanted to see Mike White, not this shit! If you were to look at their record, you believe the Indianapolis Colts have a shot at being playoff contenders, and salvaging a nearly lost season proves it. I counter with this. Name me one quality opponent they've beaten this year. Oh wait. Wonderful, they've beaten the Jets, the Texans, and brutally disappointing Dolphins and 49ers squads. Do you want me to crown them for an inflated record? I get that Jonathan Taylor is really good at running the ball, but everything else feels so damn underwhelming. Against a team like Jacksonville, nothing came easy. I really appreciated the fact that the offense faded to nothing in the second half, allowing the Jags back into the game. The Colts defense can't rest properly. Trevor Lawrence's magical hair has brought this back to a one-score game. I'll laugh hysterically if Indy blows this, but they managed to score points for the first time in what seems like an age. But Jacksonville is countering and they're only down by 6. They'll make their response heard.
Lawrence is brought down, and the ball comes out!
One of trying to secure their tank. Indianapolis somehow gets back to 500 by playing weak opponents and looking suspect as hell. Call me a hater, I'm not impressed. Talk to me when they beat a decent opponent, and then I may consider them contenders. Leave it to my goddamn jinx for me to say that I had criticisms about the Colts. The week after I say they haven't beaten a legitimate opponent this season, Indy goes off and teabags an AFC contender like it's Halo 2. You gotta celebrate a killing spree like theirs in style, I don't blame them for it. The Colts saw Buffalo's insanely one-dimensional offense and pounced. Josh Allen, the alpha and omega of their offense, could do nothing. The running game that does little besides Josh Allen did even less than that. The Bills will lick the boot as it presses on their face. And the one squeezing the life out of them is a man named Jonathan Taylor. How dominant was he today? 5 touchdowns. Bills Mafia turned into an army of try-hard 12-year-olds on Call of Duty after watching this onslaught. Indianapolis may be inconsistent and I still have questions about them, but they have momentum. With dominant performances like this under their belt, that could make them very dangerous moving forward. Both teams are looking to maintain form. Tampa Bay dispatched a cupcake and want to defeat a formidable opponent. Indianapolis just ran over a true contender and now want to take out another one. It's a shame that the Buccaneers defense is really good against the run. Jonathan Taylor couldn't do much, but that won't stop Indy from fighting for everything in their life. The Colts know the stakes at hand, and another loss, no matter how hard fought, won't shake the doubters. They respond quickly with an authoritative lead, but Tom Brady has seen this opponent before. He mastered their vile magic while he was fighting against them in New England. The Bucs just have to bide their time and wait for the Colts to make mistakes, which they do. And Brady will exercise his right to an unfair trial and declare Indianapolis guilty of hampering his quest for Lombardi number 8. Tampa Bay has willed themselves to a 7-point lead, but look to the light of Wentz. He still has some of his holy powers from Philadelphia, you know. He has re-blessed Jonathan Taylor with the charge of the bull. His rushing prowess ties the game, but as I said, Tom Brady is good at mimicking their cheap spells. He used the same charm with Leonard Fournette. Do you remember when Jacksonville said he was a cancer and cut him? I think the 4 touchdowns he had on the game will make Tom Coughlin want to find him for culture issues again. Once again, Indy tried their damnedest on an excellent kick return, but it was not enough in the end. Tampa was just the better team. I won't shit on them, though. It was a well-played contest, and Indy has shown they are a team to be feared. They will not lie down. And with how wide open the AFC is, they can drag it along to hell with them. I didn't know the Indianapolis Colts were playing NCAA football 2004. They were able to face off against Division I AA South for a dominating win. Like most games they played, the Colts obliterate the weak opponents in their way and make an example of a trash heap of a franchise. Houston at this point is a placeholder for target practice. Numerous players being benched recently for disciplinary issues to go with Tyrod Taylor being benched for the human phallus that is Davis Mills will do nothing. Indy, with a grace rivaling contenders, was quietly efficient and did what they needed to do. They head into their bye week with a good bit of momentum. I'd gladly take the shutout victory if I was them, even if it is against literal garbage. We can all agree this year has been insanely fucked for the NFL. Most games like the last one we recap feel like they're on some kind of drug cocktail. It's exhausting to follow this league some weeks. The only benefit is in memes fresh out of the oven. You thought it couldn't get worse. An old friend has reemerged onto the scene. Corona-chan is back from her lengthy vacation and wreaking havoc on every sports league throughout America. The NFL has felt her wrath hard. You may have noticed all the coughing last week. It was for good reason. Over 150 cases in the league over a 5-day span. It's not Pokemon to catch. Coronavirus is running a train throughout multiple organizations. Cleveland and the Rams have over 25 players in COVID protocol. Washington has over 20. Other teams like the Bears, Texans, and Lions are getting wrecked as well. 8 teams are in enhanced COVID protocols. This is the worst case scenario we were fearing last season, and we're seeing it happen in front of our eyes. The NFLPA pleaded with the league for games to be postponed, but of course they waited until the last moment. In a shocker, the Shield cared more about game integrity than cold hard cash. The Saturday Browns and Raiders tilt has been pushed to Monday. Seahawks versus Rams and Reskins versus Eagles have been rescheduled for Tuesday. We have it again in doubleheader form, boys! Tuesday night football! Any chance we can get a Wednesday night game? For all the glorious memes? Words can't describe how badly Indianapolis needs to win one of these next 2 games. They have the Raiders and Jags to win the year, but I don't know if 9 wins is going to be enough to secure a playoff berth. The Colts need to take out another legitimate opponent. If you were to answer that victim would be one of the hottest teams in football and the #1 seed in the AFC, I'd have laughed hysterically. Then I quickly remembered that the NFL this season is the Chewbacca defense. Nothing makes any goddamn sense. A team riding great momentum like the Patriots will look as shitty as they did when owned by Victor Kayam against Indy. It's probably one of the more complete games that the Colts have played this entire season. And this is also in consideration of Carson Wentz's right arm drinking daiquiris for most of the game. They had us remember that Mac Jones is al dente as a rookie. That's hard to do. I know something is to be said about New England nearly coming back, but then Jonathan Taylor had enough of the bullshit and carried the team for 67 yards. Let's put it this way. With victory here and their soft schedule, the Colts control their own destiny for playoffs. If they're lucky, division title. They've got their form back. Somewhere in Philly, Howie Roseman is distraught. Weeks ago, I believe the Indianapolis Colts were a team to be skeptical of because they hadn't beaten anyone legitimate. Fast forward to now. I am unsurprisingly eating endless amounts of shit for my previous statement. Against the Arizona Cardinals, they played a convincing game on all three fronts without a significant chunk of their defensive core and offensive line. They were down to bench warmers at left tackle, and Jonathan Taylor still rumbled for big gains. It was a hard-fought battle to the very end. And Indianapolis showed a resolve that's reserved for Super Bowl caliber teams. All they need is for Carson Wentz not to fuck up. And he not only avoided that, but led the team on clutch drives to secure a gritty win to keep pace with the Titans in the AFC South. As for the Cardinals...
On 3rd and 7, the ball snapped by Murray. In the end zone, he flips it ahead.
All they did was hurt themselves in confusion, consistently robbing their own coffers of a chance to pull ahead. Poor Matt Prater. One of the better kickers of his generation, and he has quite possibly the shittiest game of his career. Might have to do with not having his placeholder for the game, but it still stings. While the Colts are riding high, Arizona's continually stabbing themselves in the taint. Raider Nation mourns. This is another rough moment in a season of brutal tragedies. One of the franchise's all-time greats in John Madden is dead. Somewhere up there, he's calling this game with Pat Summerall and smiling in his broadcast cloud. Indianapolis is going to be a big challenge. Carson Wentz tested positive for COVID earlier in the week, but thanks to new protocols, he's able to play despite his unvaccinated status, along with many others. Do you think that matters to the Raiders? Because it really doesn't. Las Vegas may not have much in terms of good fortune, but what you can't deny is that they have heart. Better teams would have thrown in the towel weeks ago. But they are blessed with two things today. Madden's ascension to the football pantheon and the almighty coin. It does predict they will win, but it's been wrong before. As John Madden looks on from above, do you remember how the immaculate reception always haunted him past his coaching days? Perhaps today he will get some semblance of closure. The Raiders have taken the lead into the fourth, but Indianapolis has resolve. They will fight and claw for field position, taking over 9 minutes off the clock to tie the game. What the Raiders need is an outright miracle. Las Vegas will need every divine intervention they can think of to bring them glory on this sacred day. If you can believe it, they're doing it. They're achieving what people thought was impossible. The 11 men on offense transformed into Raiders greats of the past on this drive. And with their efforts, Daniel Carlson seals the deal.
Carlson from 33. His kick is good. Raiders win.
Las Vegas's unprecedented season of twists and turns continues on with a gutsy victory. It wasn't pretty, but we know why this was meant to be. John Madden blessed them from above. The coin is now 15-1, but it will have to be rung again for prophecy to come true. All that stands in their way from a playoff berth are the Chargers. Eat a turducken, Raiders. You've earned it today.
I'm calling both games.
Indy. What the actual fuck was that? In a game that was being handed to them as an easy win, the Colts undertook one of the most spectacular chokes the NFL has seen in its history. It's one thing if it's a close game, you know, the whole any given Sunday motif. Indy hadn't won there since 2014, and Jacksonville has nothing to lose. But this wasn't even that. This was a colossal failure on all fronts. The defense defended against Trevor Lawrence as well as a parking cone against a car. Offensive play calling was awful. Jonathan Taylor could do nothing as we meet the real failure of the game. This performance will near single-handedly run Carson Wentz out of town. All he had to do was not fuck up, and he shit his pants so often he needed Huggies. If you exclude his garbage time touchdown drive, Carson Wentz went 8 for 20 for 100 yards passing, a pick, a fumble, and a quarterback rating of 35. Need I remind you, this is against the worst team in football this season. Their fans came dressed as fucking clowns due to how terribly run they are, and they still got blown out of the goddamn water. Indy prolapsed when it mattered the most, and I'd strongly consider firing everyone if I'm in charge. These kinds of losses are hard to recover from. This is completely unacceptable from a so-called playoff contender. Ballard and Reich tethered their boats to the ship of Wentz in the offseason, and if he sinks, he might take them down with him. They are easy candidates for lone cow of the week, especially when given the circumstances. I knew something was off about these fuckers in the middle of the year, and their failures were revealed at the worst possible time. You deserve to be a meme, Colts. Embrace it. Get the fuck out of my sight and take your broken quarterback with you.
If you get the opportunity, you should kill yourself.
Indianapolis, you failed miserably. And if Baltimore's going to hell, they're taking you with them.
Baltimore Ravens and Indianapolis Colts eliminated.
This has been a season. So many twists and turns that it's hard to conceive with the naked eye. If you were looking at this year seriously, it was absolutely exhausting. But do you know the true bounty to cherish? The memes. It was fucking gold for this economy. Thanks to incredible collapses, fantastic comebacks, Urban Meyer's coaching tenure, and whatever the fuck Antonio Brown did in the Jets game. Wow. You really are pathetic, Colts. Who knew that a team with this much talent on both sides of the ball, the league leader in rushing, 7 Pro Bowlers, 4 All-Pros, and a coaching staff being picked apart by other teams would somehow find a way to keep the glue factory running? Jesus Christ himself couldn't save this shit stain of a franchise. The point differential was impressive, but then you realize that most of it was due to beating up on easy opponents. The big issue for Indy early on was that they could never finish the job against playoff contenders. They gave them a fight, but something somewhere would go wrong. Either the defense would buckle, or the run game would be stuffed, or Carson Wentz would happen. As predicted, he improved with a stronger system in front of him, but then he'd go back to his "what the fuck are you doing" mode and self-destruct in a church full of nuns. Then they seemingly found form. The Colts were looking strong. They beat legit opponents. They were a team no one wanted to face. All they had to do was beat fucking Jacksonville. Duval dressing up like clowns to show them as the biggest joke in the league. It's all that needed to be done, yet they still couldn't do it. They choked. Wentz put together a performance that Philly celebrated by proxy. It's another lost season for a team still paying for sins of the past. At this point, what do? Carson Wentz has made Indy cringe enough that he's all but secured his own exile. Frank Reich and Chris Ballard have to be on the hot seat. Are they going to spend money on free agents or do the Ted Thompson route of drafting their way to wasting talent? Clock's ticking, boys. Lord knows you've squandered the last few seasons.